Actually on broadcast. Oh, hey, we're live.
We are.
Oh, man. We're so live, ladies and gentlemen, and we fixed most of the issues coming into Game 2. I'm sorry, I thought we were testing, and apparently we are absolutely live. My bad. We apologize for game number 1. It was a G2 Hell win. I'm AC, and joining me for the beautiful desk is TB and Natty to bring you all the action in and out, or in this case, out of the Summoner's Rift. And for the second game, it's Solary versus Eterna. Natty, what are we looking at here?
Well, I think we've got a really interesting contrast of teams here, right? We have Solary, who have just come off of the EEC, managing to get second place, only falling to G2 Hell, who we just saw are a very strong team, right? And then on the other side of things, we've got Eterna, which is a very interesting team, again, because they have a lot of these new players that we haven't seen that much of outside of C and Delicate, who did play in the EEC, but C was playing mid lane. She's just trying to chief Phil for competitive, it seems.
Well,
and then we also have Delicate, who played on Lust of Venus.
Okay.
So we have some very contrasting storylines where Eterna, they played through the open qualifiers to get where they are now. But the really crazy thing is that they immediately are being put against this brick wall of Solary that was second place in the EC, and it's immediately like, right, you're either gonna sink or swim.
Right.
You
And we
are up
also
against a
have
very strong team.
Yeah, and we also have a little bit of a new roster coming in here from Eterna TV, where they have 2 North American players who are just so hungry for the competition. They just had to get in on the action right in Europe. We're talking about Starry. We're talking about Virtuosa.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. They wanna come in and show up for sure. They wanna show they deserve to be here, and this new competition is a great place to start. It's let's say it's a big stage, let's call it this way. And of course they want to show up. My question is though, they are playing with added ping because they are North American players, so this might be an issue. I mean, although it wasn't on the qualifiers because they made it through here, but as you said earlier, as Natty said as well, it's a really tough ask to make them go against Solary, which only fell to G2 Hell on the previous tournament on the EEC. So,
that is true.
The storyline kind of repeats itself from game 1. It's a Colossus against the newcomers, so it's kind of tough.
I mean, it is kind of tough, but these are newcomers that have definitely showed themselves up on the qualifiers. They went completely undefeated. I think they only dropped 1 game throughout the whole series at the point in the qualifiers. Eterna lost their 1 game on the finals, which they still won 2-1, and they've made quite a showcase of themselves. Going on that finals, they went up against Aaron's Bloom as well. We just saw them play against G2 Hell. So I feel like even though they're newcomers, Natty, there's still some high expectations coming in for them.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think looking at the groups, look at Group B, and it does look rather stacked, right? We have Eterna, we have Vitality, who fell to Solary. We have Solary, who fell to G2. And then we have SK, who have revamped their roster, right? With this new jungler, who are also predicted or expecting to finish quite highly. So we have all 4 of these teams. I think they're all sat there like, yes, we want to get really far in this tournament. And this is going to be a really important game to showcase, okay, which one of these teams is more expected to finish towards the top half of this group, and which one is maybe one we have to look out for more of this struggle for 3rd place.
All right, we already have a draft that's been lined up for us. Eterna versus Solary Academy have ran their rosters through, and it's going to be Eterna on the blue side to kick it off with Solary Academy on the red side. From Eterna, we have a Varus, an Ivern, an Ornn, a Nico, and a Yone from Solary Academy side. There's a Cassiopeia joining the Summoner's Rift alongside a Hecarim, Leona, Sivir, and a Sion to round out the composition.
Oh wow, I mean, if I can get a hold of everything that you just said, I feel like there's a really aggressive lineup on the side of Solary Academy. I was not expecting a Cassiopeia to show up so early in the tournament. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Ekarim as well, and Clef has been instrumental on the relative success of Solary since the 2024 rebuild that they had around their support AOC. But now I'm not quite sure if this type of aggressiveness will actually just snowball them further, or if they will be at I don't know. I'm still.
I mean,
if I really like.
that's perfectly fine. Listen, we're just about to toss over the casters, Sylph-Chen and Trajan. This time, we will absolutely be able to listen to their beautiful voices as they run us through inside the Summoner's Rift. So Trajan and Sylph-Chen, take it over. It's all yours.
Bold assertion, AC, promising that you could definitely hear us. I really hope that's true. My name is Trajan. I'm back with Sochan. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us. So, how are we feeling about this second game? Eterna, Solary Academy. So, some pretty old school drafting actually coming through. Cassios and Hekarims. There's some classics wheeled out for the old heads.
Yeah, very true, very true. At the same time, you got some old reliables when you have a Leona, and when you have actually the interesting pick there of a potential Nico support as well, which is something that we really enjoy. Speaking of a poking department, but like you said, it's a game where I'm excited because we have Eterna coming in as the second seed from the open qualifiers to Game Changers Rising, and the fact that they did really well and in a very dominant fashion throughout the tournament itself to qualify for this event, while Solary having so much experience in the inclusive scene with so many tournaments under their belt, including Equal Esports Cup. Back in the day, you had Rising Stars, you have Pathfinders, and Solary was also always where they were always a part of it. There we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the interesting thing about Eterna, right, is with these American players, these North American pros coming in here in the, I believe, top and support role, we have put them on big, beefy engagers, right? The Ornn on one side and the Nico as well. Not beefy, but the engage certainly is. So despite the fact that they are playing with over 100 ping, I believe, their one job is to hit that big skill shot, and the fight should play itself out after that. So we're not putting them on Vayne top, we're not putting them on even some more mechanical enchanters. They have big buttons that they need to kind of read the enemy movements and just hit them once. And so that might be the best way for them to kind of work around this slight internet disadvantage that they have. And it is just a real big wombo team, kind of on both sides. There's a lot of big ultimates, big team fighting to bring to bear.
Yeah, and speaking of that, you have that Scion with the big ultimate to initiate fights, as you mentioned. Here on the bot side, could be getting a sneaky knock-up onto Virtuosa. We'll see if they're going to actually engage on this one. Going to be spotted. Not going to land the knock-up. Well, they actually do. Okay.
Yeah, they got straight on there, and Virtuosa is suffering. First kill already over to Clef. So Solary able to get an early setup there and then TPing right back to topside. The classic level 1 pivotless cheese to open us up.
It's true. And it's honestly, I thought they weren't gonna really fall for it. That's interesting. When I saw the Nico going forward, I had a feeling that they were already aware of it.
Yeah.
But I guess they were just focusing on getting the Q onto the second bush in the bot lane, and they maybe just didn't realize that was gonna be the case. C takes a lot of damage here, pops out those potions, trying to poke out our C as well, but you still have a lot of HP on the pool for a Leona. But that is definitely something that's going to be very useful, considering how much the Sivir really just needs to control the wave. Of course, differently from a Tristana, Sivir will still control when she wants to use that ricochet on a W. So on a it's W, not E. So it's something that is much more manageable than, for example, a Tristana, but still really good to control the waves altogether. A TP here in the bot side coming back from Clef to maintain once again the priority in the lane.
Yeah, that was my one worry really with the Solary Academy, was that maybe they are too light on winning lanes. You know, Lilith can certainly punish Sashi on the Yone in mid lane, but I mean, Yone does have such a great outplay potential that there's a way to fight your way out of that, and Delicate could certainly swing it. So I was worried that Solary wouldn't have enough to play through in the early game. However, getting that first blood onto Clef tops up Sivir's gold nicely to get straight into that cull and keep them hopefully safe against a really oppressive Varus and Eco lane. So I like the attention by Solary Academy to solve that early game somewhat. And it looks like Delicate's not been able to find too much purchase on them down there. So a solid start for Solary and Eternal. Gonna have to go back to the drawing board to find another route here.
And we see the rotation coming out kind of mirrored here for both junglers as well. Like you mentioned, having Delicate going to the bot side, maybe trying to find an angle, but very much aware of that rotation. Clef and LC have been able to maintain a very controlled position in this lane so they don't overextend. And because of the range that you have on the Sivir, you can guarantee that you're not going to miss any CS. And so far, they have been doing pretty well at that. On the other side, we have, ooh, okay, that Cineflate doesn't connect, but we know that if it does, it's always going to be very dangerous. Although there is still no ignite back for our C, but it's going to be back pretty soon, which is something to keep in mind if you are Eterna.
Yeah, if Eterna, as annoying and as highly pressurizing as Varus and Nico is, neither of them attacks, right? They don't have too much defensive capability. When I see, especially when she gets their ultimate and Clef with these stacking boomerang blades, the Qs actually do a lot of damage from Sivir now once you get a couple of points in it. So there's definite kill threat there. Thorn, of course, as well. If there's attention paid down to the bot side on the Hecarim, an ult onto the Varus is game over for C. There's simply nothing that champion can do about that.
So true, so true. And it's very important in this case, again, if we are focusing still on the bot lane, that Clef really manages to get the magic shield on the right moment, because if there is a connection between a snare from the Nico, maybe a knock up from the Yone, like you said, or even an initiation that comes from the easier side of the engage, which is that on, since we pointed out they are going to be playing on ping, it's something that needs to be very well calibrated. And because you have Leona as such a stable and very tanky option here on the bot side, the damage that's being ditched by this very poke heavy lane is not really that oppressive, which is something that Solary has been playing pretty well around. Now in the mid lane, I am a little bit concerned not to see Lilith having more of a CS advantage over the Yone here on Sashi, because of the range and just how much you can do to deny, especially with a miasma, in regards to countering that Yone lane phase.
Solary still comfortably wending their way through this lane phase. Pivotless and Starry just going to be tank matching it up in that top side, and Clef and Alcy do still have to give a lot of space, a lot of respect to C and Virtuoso, but they're not going down in CS. And so far, Eterna hasn't been able to really crack anything open. You can see in the top left, Delicate starting up that Cloud Dragon to sneak that away. Thorn not going to contest this, so they will likely still be unlikely to find any heavy action, any clashes in this early stage. Once we get to that level 6, both teams just have so many tools to start fights to force the issue that I think we are going to get into team fights and objective plays pretty quickly. But for now, it seems like a very cool, calm, and collected start. And they're going to be trading objectives, I suppose, rather than going all out for them.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a case of course, when you have a pressure here on the bot side, which is where we have been staying all throughout this early games so far. It's a case that Eterna is just trying to get as much control as they can. If it's not on the bot lane, because they have been very safe from the side of RC and Clef, you go to the bot lane to get the objective instead, which is a very good prioritization from Eterna themselves. Now on the top side, we saw a lot of presence from Thorn in just trying to get the vision, and because they didn't see anybody there, they just guarantee that yes, the Drake was being done. So that's why bot lane had to be careful. At the same time, you set up Solary just fall not just to the fight, but also not get the objective themselves.
And that kill going over into the pocket of C right there. The third competitive role that C has played. Been top, been mid, now an AD carry. Catching Pivotless, going for a recall in the brush on Vision. It's going to take a lot of damage. The grasping roots as well. Down to below half is this Scion. Going to walk away alive, but takes a fat chunk and might still need to lose TP. In fact, Clef is TPing down into bot side just to cover that one. So C getting that extra gold does give them their scaling carry. And so this is lethal tempo Varus. This is on-hit Varus, not the lethality Varus we saw last game from Caltis. So she is going to be able to stand and fight if that is demanded of her.
And it's something that's actually going to be very well demanded.
Oh, going straight onto Lilith right here, trying to dip and dive, and the damage is there. We can see this Yone, the threat that it has onto the Cassiopeia. Thorn comes in for the side just for a quick drive-by, but this is basically what we saw, right? Solary now with basically no winning lanes. It's hard to see where they play through at this point in the game. Clef is going to spell shield away that route from Virtuosa, but C is continuing to chase. Has the ultimate, has flash. This could be very dangerous. Has to flash away, does the Sivir. A bit of damage on the backside as Alcy returns the cover.
Okay, that's pretty good. Right, so it was very dangerous and very close to Clef there, but super well played by Eterna. That one spell shield was crucial, like you said, there for the Sivir. And overall, what we were seeing there all around from Eterna is just how fast they are on these rotations. They went for the side swap, went back to the bot lane, guaranteed that you were going to have to first Clef to use that TP to cover the lane themselves, then went in as a team as well to try and punish Clef even between towers 1 and 2. And that was very interesting of a position for Eterna to take. And it's just nice to see that a team that is just on the rise and playing on ping nonetheless is just performing as good as they are, especially on pacing and timing.
Yeah, it looks like they have a great understanding of the game right now. Starry going to take a trade back onto Pivotless as well. What kind of eternally weak-sided is Starry on this roster? Of course, Ornn, one of the most classic weak-side king champions, or I suppose weak-side queen champions, we should say, for this event for Ornn here. But Pivotless as well, you're on the Scion. This is likely going to be the dynamic here, and it's going to be all about where those big CC chain abilities land in the team fights, as they will likely just be trading HP until the cows come home. We do have a second dragon spawning now. Last time that was taken for free by Delicate, and Eterna are straight back onto it.
Okay, again, the timing so good all around. You don't have to be available for the side of Starry, but Pivotless does have one. So maybe we'll see a try to contest here from the side of, oh no, Solary doesn't take it.
They don't want to let them out though. Virtuosa gets the ult, but drops very low. Massive Sashi ultimate catches up 2 more members. Let's get that first kill, but Solary are looking a little weak right now. Heck remote whiffs. Pivotless flies in and crashes into C. Down goes the Varus. That's the team fight Solary were looking for last time.
Okay, finally things connect here, and it's just what they needed. Maybe it was a case of just having the opponent go for an objective themselves and try to contest it, which is what they tried to do on Void Grub. So the strategy was sound, execution was a little lacking. This time, not lacking at all. They managed to get every single one of those CC chains that were necessary to really stack up the damage alongside Lilith and Clef, and having 3 kills to the name of this Sivir on the side of Solary is just something that really makes a difference. Now, when they go back to base and get that reset, the Cull finishing in 2 next creeps to be taken down as well. It's just going to be a lot of money for this ADC.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the godsend for Solary Academy right now. Clef on the Sivir can be that win condition. Such an experienced player in the WNB scene is Clef. So many successes under her belt, and now she's got the tools to potentially carry these late fights. And Virtuosa, you can see those boomerang blades we mentioned before are really starting to hurt, and Thorn having a look-see, but doesn't commit to it.
Yeah, it's a situation where I feel like Thorn has tried to be a little more careful about and a little more mindful about these engages. Now mid lane getting a little nice poke here, and the miasma straight back into where Yone was gonna come back is again something that we have been mentioning. You said on the side of Eterna, they really need to make this Varus work because of having the on-hit build. You're gonna have that extra bit of auto attacks and the attack speed with the lethal tempo, and there's something that really needs to match up with the amount of damage per second that the Cassiopeia is going to be dishing out on the side of Solari. So I feel like it's a good choice overall because they have finished the Blade of the Ruin King now. They have the upgraded boots as well because of their feats of victory.
Boom.
While on the top side, a kill to Pivotless happens as well, Trajan.
Yeah, that other Blade of the Ruin King for Sashi really doing a lot of work there. Damage and CC off of Virtuoso. Pivotless, sadly, she cannot escape. She's only got MR to offer right now, so the Yoni is just going to absolutely shred through the Cyan as we see. So a little bit of a much needed injection. Sadly, it goes on to Virtuoso. I'm sure Sashi would have loved that one to keep pace right now into that Cassiopeia matchup. But Solary need to try and keep hold of it. The gold is still dead even, it must be said. 2 Drakes for Eterna, though, and a Hextech Rift. So they have the opportunity to play for a very impactful soul with a on-hit Varus and a Yone. That Hextech is going to go dummy for them if they can lock it up early.
Oh, it definitely will. And especially, like you said, it's not just the amount of boost that you're going to have because of that soul, because of the buffs that you get with the Hextech. It's just the fact as well that you can have better maneuverability across the map. And considering that Eterna already has been doing pretty well with cross-map rotations, this is really just going to be really good to give them that extra bit of advantage. At the same time, got to be careful because Solary having a TP here, going for that Herald contest, starting out quick.
The team fight. They don't get the stun onto C, but in comes Pivotless, blocked by the wall. There's the follow-up again. They need to get this Varus down, but they can't reach her. Dude, through that jungle passage once again. It is a nightmare location for Solary Lilith. Lovely ultimate gets one, trying to stack up the E's, looking for 2 onto Delicate. So low, and Sashi secures the double. Does not allow Lilith to turn that team fight around. And these team fights, so if they are so back and forth, both of these teams going crazy.
They really are, Trajan, and it's so interesting too because I feel like this game in particular, like you said, is not just the back and forth, it's just how these fights have been played. And to me, it feels like it's Eterna taking the lead, and when they do, they kind of fall behind. When Solary takes the lead, they kind of fall behind. So it kind of feels like it's one of those games where both teams, they can actually thrive better if they are contesting and countering an objective or a fight, and just going back after something has already started is something that has been reaching more success in these fights. And in particular, again, a case that we see Lilith using such a powerful ultimate, just like the Petrifying Gazes for Cassiopeia. And it was the case of being 1v3. She just had no backup at that point because again, just like the first fight that we saw in the game with Thorn going over that to that tri-bush on the top side, not having backup, it usually doesn't work.
Yeah, like Pivotless couldn't get over the wall, hadn't have the flashback up from before, and the carries from Solary just could not get in there. We saw they understand what their job is, right? They need to kill C, and they came really close. They almost got her, but they just don't quite have enough to get it over the line. And that's when the lethal tempo Varus of the Blade of the Ruin King starts cooking in a team fight. Is after that first engage. So Eterna, they also understand, you know, their job in these fights. Delicate can keep C alive, and that's when it turns on its head. So Solary, they need to make that first engage really hit true. That's when it can work well for them, it seems, as now we have another opportunity to have another blowout team fight over this third Hextech.
Yeah, it's pretty close though because you have a front line like our Steve really interested in getting those Zenith plays and knock
She's on her own. Where's the team? Where's the team? She's blacked away. Gets the heal up from the Redemption. Now can stand and fight again. Solary, they can't quite get it over the line for the second time, but it's going to be 1-for-1 so far, surely. Support falls down. Pivotless flashes away. Ornstein on the side. Sashi deep into the backline, threatening onto Thorn. Virtuosa gets the knockout, but there goes Lilith again. Isolated on the Cassiopeia after the fight starts, but flashes away to survive this time.
I have to say, Cassiopeia just doesn't need boots. They always are so sleepy and they escape and they're just like so sneaky every single time. And again, it feels like most of these team fights have been on the back of somebody being isolated, and it was a really good call. Like you said, C had no backup, but the backup was there. It was. You have your Ivan, you have your Redemption, you have your Shield, you have your Daisy, you have the snare that comes from the Nico and the on horn as well. So a lot of those things actually made it for maybe a bait, maybe it was intended. I don't feel like it was, but they still, but still, Trajan, I still think that in this case, they are ready to pull the trigger for any lengths necessary to save C.
Yeah, so as much as I think Eterna may have kind of lost track of C for a moment there, the the running in to save her was excellent. As you say, once they identified what the problem was, the redemption was perfect. The flash for C under tower kept her alive. And again, it was very close, but not quite enough. And Solary, I don't blame them for going for that engage at all. That looked like an isolated, juicy target. Sadly, they just couldn't get the job done once again. And Eterna remains ahead. And now, critically, they're playing on Hextech Soul Point. In 4 minutes' time, Solary have no choice but to contest it somehow.
And it's starting to really tip the scales here on the side of damage if you're talking about Eterna, because you have, for example, the Varus that is doing pretty well, like you mentioned, with the Blade of the Rune King, how much presence has been doing in regards to 1 hit damage per second. At the same time, now you have the Yone Sashi on 3, 0, and 4 with a 500 gold bounty on her head, and having completed not just the Blade of the Rune King, but also the Shield Bow as well. It's such a big difference, and that he is really playing for a lot of pressure on lanes, pushing, shoving really well, with the 8 lead of 40 CS on her name as well, which makes a huge difference. While on the side of Solary, Lilith doesn't really feel like she's been that impactful.
Yeah, we've seen the end of these team fights where Lilith is abandoned and the rest of Solary has kind of crumbled and backed away, and Lilith's going, guys, I've got this great ultimate, where's my team, where's the follow-up? And sadly she's not able to find it. Sashi wants to force another play onto Leona. A rotation, lovely from Pivotless, gets onto Seed. Can they kill the Varus? No, they can't! It's every single time so chance. Solary sees the target, they don't get the kill, and Eterna turn around and slap them back for the privilege.
Well, and because you just have that much healing back as well, just look at the Varus, completely untouched, as we're seeing a rotation here from the side of Eterna to go and focus on the Articon, but you're gonna need Daisy there with you to at least take some of that damage. We know it can get a little bit tricky, but Trajan again, Solary with the right intention, with the right strategy, but the amount of backup and just protection that you have to field this ADC on the side of Eterna has been absolutely crazy good, and because you have the Herald pushing out here, taking tier 2 on the bot side, it's just really opening a gap in regards to gold. 5,000 that it is in this case for Eterna to be ahead.
It's only going to get harder and harder to actually break through, to get the hands on C in these team fights. And you look at the carries for Solary, right? We've just gotten to 2-item fully stacked Roa Lilith, but that Cassiopeia, this is not a burst champion, this is a DPS champion. You catch C, what they need to do is just destroy her before she has a chance to be shielded and healed. But Eterna doesn't have to worry about that, because Clef can't burst, it's a Sivir. Cassio can't burst, it's a Cassio. So this is, I think, what's letting C survive. They could do with like a Cinder or something would be perfect right now. Something to just remove C from the equation. They get so close every time, but they never quite make it. Eventually, if we go 6 items, maybe they can get it to happen. But at that point, you're probably just playing front to back anyway. This feels so tough for Solary to play so.
It surely does, Trajan, and it's unfortunate for them because they were playing the early game pretty well, very controlled, but it was matched by Eterna having a lot of good decision-making, very fast decision-making at that as well, and understanding their composition. And like you mentioned, they don't have the burst necessary to actually take down this Varus quickly enough. Maybe you would have something if you had Thorn going for full damage, but we know the Hecarim is just not that anymore.
If she'd just gotten ahead, right? If she'd just gotten stronger,
exactly.
because 1 and 4, Hecarim can be that threat even with this build, but we're already 2 items deep, and it's just too. They kind of maybe missed that window where it's possible, and like I say, I think we're gonna have to go to like 5-6 items before we maybe get back to that point.
It's so true, and like you mentioned, even if the build does work, we're seeing the Serpent's Fang there with the Shojin for the side of Thorn, and we actually, just hold that, or Horn.
Solary doesn't get the good ultimate, Virtuosa catches onto 1, but can they actually get the kill over the line? ETR's chance now to try and engage the fight. Sashi on the flank, threatening the backline once again. The front line of Solary has no damage to support them because this Yone is just 1v3 and Clef can't do anything about it. Eterna calls the shot, forces the play. Lilith flashes back to the tower. Sashi can't quite flip with the Yone ultimate. They try to keep it going, but they've already got what they need. Clef is down.
Well, and it means quite a lot to Eterna that they are down, because at this point, when you're just waiting to get a next Drake and confirm that Hextech Soul, there's nothing really that can be done here for Solary region. And it, well, maybe, but look at the zoning that Virtuoso is doing, the amount of damage that is present on the side of Eterna, just finishes that soul and secures it for themselves, while Thorn is just trying to, I don't know, maybe get some presence and some vision in the enemy jungle, steal some of that farm just to potentially get some more vision for that Baron push soon enough in a minute time. But it's just really hard to contain Sashi now on this Yone. 5-0 and 5 is just too much damage. So they have backline, consistent damage, and they have burst, and they have CC. It's just something really hard to overcome right now for Solary.
It's so hard for them to play, as we said, right? Because Clef and Lilith want to step up and start doing damage to frontline, maybe even contributing to knocking off the backline in C, but Sashi is down their throat every single fight. So the front line of Solary, they're trying to CC and lock up C to try and unlock that Varus kill, but Sashi is 1v3ing the backline, so you think, do I have to peel? Am I diving? Am I killing? Am I protecting? What am I doing? And Solary are getting pulled apart in these fights. It looks so difficult for them, and we're now into Hextech Soul with the gold lead ballooning up. The Baron is live in 7 seconds. So Solary are going to have to find a solution to this very quickly. Maybe the Baron pit, the confined space, could give them an arena that they can succeed a little better in. But it is going to have to be something short of a miracle, I think, to get them out of this one, because Sashi and Eterna have just been playing this out so well.
Agreed. And it's, like you mentioned, it's going to be really almost an impossible task here for Solary to perform exactly as they need on these team fights. But we see Eterna just going for a push, getting some of that wave just cleared out, so they know that when they do get Baron, it's already going to be set up for them to go for straight up siege damage. And because Solary, with, of course, you have the Sivir, you have the Cassiopeia, but still, it just feels like they haven't been able to clean as quickly as possible or damage as quickly as possible. And they're just really falling behind on all of these attempts. Maybe it would be a case of them having to wait for an on-horn to be used and wasted and whiffed. I don't know, maybe a miracle on ping for the side of Starry to miss some of those ults, but then you still have Virtuosa with all of those pop blossoms doing so well. And the backup that comes from Delicate on this Ivan, it just feels like having Mikhail's as well now to deny any sort of engage, especially looking at that petrifying gaze and the solar flare. So it's tough times here for Solary.
Yeah, we need to find C, maybe just wandering the jungle on her own with no Ivern, and you need to have Clef and Lilith there as well to fight through the redemption and the possible healing and shielding, as ETR are thinking about the Baron. They are going to peel away right now, not going to overcommit to it for this for the moment. Lilith's going to go and match bot lane for Solari's side, has the TP to come in if she needs it, and just going to play it out nice and slowly on the vision. So Eterna not going to get rushed into sloppy decision making. I like this from them, but this does give a chance for Solary to really consider what is the method of attack here. How are we going to try and win this team fight? If you lose that team fight and lose the Baron, I think it's probably over.
Yeah, it's
certainly should be over.
Yes, yes. I mean, the way that Eterna has been playing, I would say they have been pretty clean so far. And although some of the fights haven't been like perfect, they have been very consistent. I think that's what matters the most here. They're gonna start that Baron, as you said, but we still have Thorn behind the pit here with some of that vision. But there's no vision for Solary inside the pit. Now it does with Leona, but it's gonna get cleared quickly by Eterna as well.
Lilith, that's the time to slither up the river right now. As Delicate actually trying to pressure off Solary, and they do peel off the Baron again. So Eterna playing very respectfully right now, perhaps knowing they don't have Sashi in a good flanking position, not confident they can actually reach those critical backliners. But this delay for Solary, so this is going to mean that Clef and Lilith will likely have their flashes up for the next fight, and they really need them. You have to find a way to put yourself with some distance between you and Sashi, or even you and Virtuosa trying to go in for that Nico ultimate. So Solary going to hopefully go into this critical Baron play with all the summoners. They just have to try and get as many items as possible, I suppose, and send it and hope for the best.
Yeah, hoping for the best is definitely what the momentum is looking for here for Solary. And I'm thinking I don't know, it's so difficult for them right now because of how far behind they are in regards to the items. The builds are just looking so complete on the side of Eterna. Sometimes 1.5 items to complete that 6 full build, but in this case for Solary, some of them only having 2 completed items, maybe 3 if you are a little bit more ahead. We're looking at the likes of Clef on 11,000, almost 12,000 gold, which is honestly pairing up pretty well with the farm, considering their counterpart in just 400 gold ahead for the left side.
Okay, that's third item completed for Clef on that back, so that is a big spike for the Sivir. All they have to do is keep her safe somehow in these fights, and those ricochets are going to start hurting. You're not going to need to actually be next to the backline with this ricochet, right? Sivir can reach the backline just by bouncing through the team fight. So there's an angle here to come through. Now, it must be said that Eterna is now also getting Ornn items on their key carries. They've got upgraded Infinity Edge for Yone, upgraded Blade of the Ruin King for C, so that's becoming even more of a problem. And Eterna starting up the Baron again, so they're ready to try and play this one out.
And we'll see how that's gonna go. Maybe looking for engage here, Solary, but looking for a clone on Nico, knowing that's not the one. Oh, I see, has the flash.
Virtuoso is actually kind of in no man's land right now. Has to flash away, didn't get over the wall, has to pop a defensive ultimate. Nico maybe missed it, but Sashi ultimate onto Lilith. Barrow's doing the damage, and that's what from mid lane, and that's not what you want. C is now unleashed in the fight. Solary don't have a threat to stop her. Clef again, left with no defense, no peel options, no one to save her. It's a triple for Sashi. It was a messy, scrappy start for Eterna, but they push through and make it work.
Yeah, it's just how far ahead they are, Trajan, and it looked good for a moment for Solary. And unfortunately for them, it has been that way for a couple of fights so far. Maybe the last 4 fights even, I would say, because coming out from the amount of objectives they have accumulated from the Herald, well pushed into the bot lane, taking down tier 2 to getting the soul in the Hex deck, which makes a lot of sense for the on-hit build, as you mentioned there, for the Varus and the attack speed and extra damage. Now going for this Elder, and they're just playing it safe, and I think that's the best call for Eterna. They want to be respectful to the enemies. Bo1 was trying to look for maybe an angle here, and have to sprint away on very low HP. Even Virtuoso could take her down.
Yeah, respect going for the sneaky stolen Elder for Thorn. There really wasn't much better things for her to do, I think, but Virtuosa credit as well for doing her homework, checking those brushes, and gets the threat out of dodge right now, pushed into the tower for Solary. At this point now, as we said, if it gets the 5 or 6 items, there's always a way for this team to play it out. But we thought the last game would be all about that mid matchup. But this is the one where Sashi has just absolutely dominated that mid lane. And the Yone team fighting, the backline access that she's been able to find has been so critical in turning these plays. Now Alcy may be under threat, but it could be Starry, in fact, getting chunked down. Clef is starting to do some damage, gets knocked up though by the Ornn. Double knock up and C there to secure the kill. Clef down again. The Elder doing a huge amount of work. Lilith gets ankles broken on the ultimate call out from Eterna right there as they keep the push running. The Baron now pouring into the base, and we could be done right here.
It might as well just be the case, Trajan. They have everything to push. The Elder Drake, as you said, just finishing them on almost half HP, which is the amount of damage that this Varus and the Yone together have been doing. And Eterna proving that they are indeed so capable to be here on League of Legends Game Changers Rising.
Look at C, absolutely undaunted, frontlining into the Nexus Towers to push out Pivotless, and now they work on those final structures. Baroned up, Elder Dragon as well. A final Virtuosa ultimate seals the deal, and Eterna, the transatlantic team fight masters, put on a clinic in their first game in Game Changers Rising.
Oh, it just feels really good if you're an Eterna fan, because this performance was just amazing. And it really goes to show just how they really swam through the qualifiers for Game Changers Rising, Trajan, because I can see that. I can see what happened in those games just by looking at this one in particular. Like you mentioned, it's not just the fact that they were team fighting monsters, which they really rightfully were, but it's also the rotations. And I gotta tell you, some people and some teams in general in League of Legends can't do rotations on regular ping. This team on 100 ping did proper timed rotations with TPs, lane swaps, back from lane swaps. The amount of on horns that were used in this game that were not missed. Just lovely to see this performance from Eterna, and unfortunately that for Solary, they couldn't really build that early game lead that they needed to try and have some presence, especially on that Hecarim.
Yeah, and again, we can praise Eterna for knowing what they needed to do in that game, how to play the team fights out. Was a great showing by them. Solary understood the game plan as well. They knew what the strategy was. The execution simply didn't hold up in the moment. As we take a quick look at the standings, we can see from Group A and B, G2 Hell and Eterna taking that first W. With our next game day tomorrow, we'll have Galleon's Pearl and Nexus Reapers, and then Vitality Rising Bees and SK Avarosa. So many massive names in the WMB scene, so ready to play out in this first ever League Game Changers. Cannot wait to see what the rest of these matches are going to bring us.
Oh yeah, me too, because we already had such exciting matches today, and we really want to thank you all for the patience and for just supporting the women's and non-binary scene. The inclusive tournaments are just really what makes such a difference to the scene in general, to make sure that all of these ladies and players, they are going to have the proper support to become the true competitive pros and monsters and beasts that we know that they can be. Trajan, it's been such a pleasure casting with you again as well.
Yeah, it's been so nice to get this LTA South connection back here on LGC. Very excited for it. And I'm excited to see what the rest of these matches bring us. As we said, right, we're gonna pretty much wrap it up there. We'll be back same time tomorrow. We will, you know, quote unquote for sure, do not quote me on this, we're gonna work very hard. We're going to fix out these technical issues for tomorrow. We'll hopefully have a much smoother game day. I'm glad we got this second game smoothly running, more or less, so we could at least see that first Eterna win as well. And with that, thank you all for bearing with us. We'll hope to see you back here same time tomorrow for more League Game Changers Rising 2025.